So thanks, Reet. Good to have you here. This is the second part of Loglin's conversations, if I may say so. So thank you. It's good to have you here, and good to learn from you what you think and where you think AI marketing is headed, and so on and so forth. As we get started, just a little bit of an introduction about yourself, just for the for me and for everybody.
Yeah, hey, Gokul, so great to chat with you and connect with you. I am a lifelong learner and a revenue marketer. It's an absolute passion of mine, and I've been fortunate to see the first wave of disruption in revenue marketing many years ago when this whole concept of like Marketo, marketing automation, Eloqua, and all of that came about. Serious decisions is a really big and the whole lead management funnel scoring nurture, like all of those were new concepts, right? That's when I entered the marketing world, and now and then like ABM, we had ABM spike in between. But what we are seeing with AI now is just unlike anything we have ever seen. Everything is probably going to get disrupted soon, and it's just so awesome to be here for this moment and help set the future and the future state. So I'm really excited. It's a great time to be a marketer right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it seems like AI is. I mean, I see mixed reactions, but behind the scenes, it seems like among the functions that AI is kind of getting deeply embedded. Marketing seems to be one of those functions where it's pretty much ripe to scale with AI. Um, but before we even jump into that topic of AI and marketing, as a marketer, give us give me an idea what your makes your day. What is it that energizes you about the world of marketing and your on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I mean, marketing is super interesting, right? It's a one function that within marketing, there's so many different sub functions, and they all are pretty unique. Like if you take like sales or head of customer success or head of product, they all know, like, may have done things with their own hands. But marketing is the only function where it's not necessarily possible to have depth in all the different areas you manage, right? So you come with like from a different, you have expertise in the area, and then you lead all of the other functions that you where you may not have expertise. So in marketing, what I get excited about is that, like, as a marketer, especially like as leaders, you like learn every day. You learn from your peers, you learn from the people that work for you because they may have expertise in an area that you don't have, right? So that's why I started that when we started this call is like, hey, I'm a lifelong learner because I'm constantly learning because there's so many areas that we just within marketing that we don't have expertise on, and the more you know, the better we become as a marketer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there was an interesting survey. I'm passionate about marketing. I picked up on marketing. I'm a sales guy, and before that, I was a consultant. But I picked up on marketing in my product role, so I kind of have a 360-degree role, the experience. So I started the product role at SAP, and I picked up, I was building the CPaaS platform, API powered CPaaS platform. AI wasn't even, but the idea was to deliver the right message at the right time on the right channel. And so we were trying to use ML to identify what's the right, what's the most, what channel drives the best outcome. And that API was embedded within SAP Marketing Cloud, and through that go-to-market between you know SAP Intelligent Notification 365 and SAP Marketing Cloud, I started interacting with marketers on campaigns and email campaigns and this and that and so on and so forth. And I started, that got me hooked on. because I'm also a CRM consultant, from fun, as a, as
Yeah.
getting right off the bat. And that's what's kind of kicking off my this passion of mine around marketing. But I was also interested, as I continuously do my research and learning on marketing. I was interested in a CMO, a data point from a CMO survey caught my interest, and it said something like um, 50 to 60%, or and I'll give you the exact stats separately, Rick, but 50 to 60% of marketing workflows are not still not using a tool set. Would you agree with that? That would be an interesting data point, and I'll send it out to you. So, and so what that means is marketers are constantly looking for new tools, something or the other, to figure out how to better optimize and all of the things that they do. Is that true?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think there's like new work that keeps getting created, right? So new workflows keep getting created. We have had a lot of tools since like the Marketo days. The Martech has exploded. So I think there's probably so many tools that it's hard to know which one does what, and then like what exact problem they solve, or they solve, a very specific problem, and then you as a marketer have to stitch the workflow together. So I could see why that might have been said, because um we're still like trying to solve the problems that we had from the past, which is like you said, right? Being able to market to the right person at the right time. Even with all the tech that we have, it's still challenging to do that. It's still challenging to nurture. It's still challenging to know which buyer is where in the journey, and are they really ready, right? So you try to figure that out through all the signals that you gather from the different tools, but stitching together the picture and stitching together the journey is still a bit hard to do.
Agreed. That talk, and do you see AI helping through that journey? I mean, AI clearly the way increasingly, and this is mind-boggling the pace at which it's growing is, and I'm kind of entrenched in in a little bit in quite a bit in the weeds on that, but and I can see the promise, and I can see how that promise can be translated. Do you see AI helping unbundle, because with all of these tools, unbundle it in a way that makes it easy for marketer to to stitch that those components together and create that big picture, even if they may be smaller. I mean, it might just create smaller subsets of tool sets. Do you see more tools being used, and then AI, making it simpler
Yeah.
to stitch the story together? How or do you see AI just being added on into one of those conglomerate, monolith marketing martech stack? What do
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah, like you said, the promise of AI is just so great, right? It's like we finally feel like we can get the questions answered. We can get the insights that we have always wanted, because the AI and the large language models can process large amounts of data that a human brain just can't, right? So the promise is definitely there, but I think it's wait like I don't think there's no clear emerging answer or a winner here yet. I think it's gonna come down to, like, are we being efficient? Are there tools making us more efficient and effective? Or are we now just, have added more to our stack and tech stack and like made it even more complex, right? So I think AI, if there's a tool that would win would be the one that would just making our job easier. Spending less time doing this, whether it is analyzing data, or whether it is, analyzing campaign performance, or you throwing all of your customer journey data into some model, and then let it draw the insights that you ask the questions that you always had, and you have never gotten clear answers, and maybe we can. Maybe, you know, the other thing with that is like we still are going to have to use our own experience and our own intelligence to assess, like, based on my experience, is this what I should be expecting? Just because the AI model is telling us me, or is giving me an answer, is that what I should expect, right? So there's a little bit of like us knowing what kind of answer we should get before we get it, I think would really help in believing that this can solve our problem.
And that, in other words, you need to have your own hypotheses baked in, right? In your mind, you should have a hypothesis. And it kind of,
Exactly.
are you
Yeah.
validating your hypothesis, or is the data telling you something differently than
Yeah.
what your expected answer
Yeah.
is? So that at least you
Yeah.
know how to make that judgment, correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Otherwise,
then
like, how do you know that the answer you got is the right answer or is the right direction?
is in the right direction, correct? And
Yeah.
if you don't have the hypothesis, you can't make a judgment, because you'll just either lead completely by be led completely by whatever is coming out from whatever is being coming through the LLMs, or going with your own biases. Either ways, that's
Exactly.
a that's a that's a great point. That's a great point, Reed. I was actually also thinking of another angle, and so that brings me another topic that's top of mind right now for me, and I think for a lot of you as leaders in marketing, readiness itself, AI readiness in marketing. Um, what does that mean to you, and how do you see that kind of being actioned in a marketing function, in your functions, or as leaders? Yeah.
Uh, AI readiness, you know,
And I'll tell you why I'm going back to it, because in a lot of questions, a lot of I talked to a lot of people, and earlier on this year, everybody put KPIs and OKRs, saying do this on AI, do that in AI. Just some AI KPI, OKR. Everybody's got some goals around it, but I'm not sure if there's readiness. And before
yeah,
you jump into action and achieving those OKRs, how do you even assess a readiness, and what does that mean?
yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of like, feeling of like missing out or getting left behind, right? Nobody wants to feel like they got left behind. So they're all,
Yes.
trying to, action it in a way that how we have action things in the past through OKRs, through, initiatives that we're, leading department wise. So, um, and I don't know if there's ever going to be like, we've reached 100% readiness, but um there's definitely some I think it's at the individual level. Like some individuals are a lot more receptive, the ones that who like to experiment, try new things, and those are the ones who are more on the forefront of this. And then there's some, just how it happens to be, how things are. Some people are wait for others to try, test, experiment before they jump on. I think we're seeing that in real time with AI readiness. You see some of your team members like going all in, and others are kind of waiting and watching. But and there's a lot of resources that are being put out on readiness. Lots of like Salesforce, HubSpot, and all of these companies are putting out resources, especially specifically for marketers, and like how to think about it and all that. So I think that everybody should have that basic knowledge of like, what does it mean, when we say LLMs? What does it mean when we talk about models? What does it mean when we say agents? Have that basic knowledge, but be curious and open to trying new things. Like nobody's got it figured out. Everybody's just trying to figure it out. So be in the mix, start learning, start experimenting. Like if anybody's feeling like, oh, there is some out team out there who's like have it figured out, that's not true.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Do you see? It just brings me to interesting. Do you see AI readiness workshops as something that would be of value to marketing? I mean, just leads
Um,
on to something. What is what I have another question with follow up to that, but I won't, just let
Yeah, I
you
mean, I think
hear.
I think the marketers could benefit from, um, like use case specific content, right? Like I go back to when marketing automation kind of was the big disruption for revenue marketing team many years ago. The whole concept of like lead management, lead scoring, lead nurture, that was like, there were workshops that like Eloqua and Marketo would run on them, right? And that's how like so many marketers quickly grasped those ideas and started, working with them and started adopting it. Perhaps there's at some point I would, hope that there is those sessions that are like very use case specific sessions where you can say, if you're trying to solve for X, this is how you do it, and give frameworks, and let people choose their tools or how they want to get it done, but at least have frameworks available.
Fantastic. Absolutely agree. I agree with that completely. And I think this is given the span of what's possible, it just overwhelms you. And so you have to, and I agree with that, that you have to narrow down to specific use cases and say, okay, how do you do XYZ for marketing? How do you do
Yeah,
XYZ
yeah,
specific to, and where can AI help you, and where do you need to make your judgment? Like you brought the other point around
yeah.
hypothesis and what, how do you interpret it, how do you actually make use of it and apply it, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as marketers, we spend a lot of time, right? Like figuring out the right ICP. I feel like, and like, what are the key use cases that we want to take to the market? I feel like this is like us applying to ourselves and our own learnings. Like, we're used to doing this for our customers and prospects, but I think like it's time for us to do it for ourselves and our career and our own growth.
And yeah, agreed, 100% agree. And there's an interesting angle, and this is something that, as we talk about AI readiness, and you can only be ready if you know what you need, what one can, when you have kind of a laundry list of things, or what others, what
You know the
at a
scope,
granular level,
right?
the
You have to
scope,
know the
correct?
scope. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you got to know all the scope. So the interesting thing about how AI is being applied today, unlike other previous product ideas and so on and so forth, is AI lends itself very nicely to this idea of jobs to be done. AI essentially becomes more like an assistant. So an assistant is doing a specific job that you would not have been able to do otherwise, or you would have had to put resource otherwise. So when you look at AI, it lends, and when you look at the idea that it lends itself to jobs to be done, and now if you start applying, what are the jobs I need to get done, and who's doing that job, and what is being left in the middle undone or unfinished, or
Right.
I don't have resources, then it kind of gives you the right place where you can, oh, you know what, this is, I mean, is this important enough? First of all, you need to make a case. I mean, if there's a gap, but is it a big enough gap, or is it worth solving, or is it, or if it
Exactly.
is solved even at a low cost, AI, AI is leading itself into a way that it's not an expensive way to get a problem solved out. I mean, it's costly in terms of usage, and so there can be cost associated with over time, but solving and getting a solution out of the door probably is not as expensive. So
Yeah. I mean,
if
right
you
now
kind of,
everybody's experimenting, right? So, yeah.
correct, yes, great. I'll come to another point. Yeah, it takes me to another point in your own, when you assess it and within the jobs to be done, and levers, use case, stack, talent, governance, buying culture. I kind of put have a laundry list of things. What are your top three
Um, in terms of where do I see AI being most useful?
in terms of what would make AI, what would drive AI readiness within marketing? Is it workshops? Is it training? Is it data availability? Is it tech stack? Is it knowledge of,
Yeah. Yeah.
clear clarity on use cases? AI talent or AI ready talent, governance, executive buy-in, culture. So I kind of put together some
Gotcha.
list. Yeah. So where
Yeah.
would you put your top three? Yeah.
I think, like, honestly, this is the first thing phenomena that I'm seeing that all other, I don't know, I might be overly saying this, but many other phenomena or incidents that I've seen been most have been like bottoms up, right? They
Yes.
the marketer managers, the directors, they're trying things, they're trying to be efficient, or trying to figure out how to generate more leads, high quality leads. So they're the ones who experiment, and then they, like, in the past, right? That's how we bought tech. Like they try it, and then you take it up to the C level and the CMO or the VP, and then they come in and they're like, yeah, makes sense, and the decision's made. AI is the only thing in my lifetime that I've seen where it's top down. It is the executives telling, you know, the teams to go try this, go experiment. So I think there's, if the team comes up with an idea or a solution or tech that they need, I could be wrong, but I'm speaking for myself. Like, if my team came to me and they said, "This is what I want to try," I would be like, "Go do it," right? There's no that things that we used to see in the past where you need to, like, get buy-in, executive buy-in. I don't know, but I feel like that's probably that time and cycle might be shorter with
Hmm.
AI.
Hmm.
Um, and then in terms of, I mean, to me, like, we were talking about, like, the use cases of AI are so vast, and, like, you could apply it to anything. But if you take it back to, like, what do the businesses care about? They care about hitting their numbers. They care about making their revenue, hitting their bookings, pipeline goals, and doing it efficiently, right? That is never going to go away. Like, that's a good business sense, good business direction. So when we think about, like, use cases in the context of that, like, those are the ones that I would prioritize first, right? Which use case allows me to get to the right customers at the right time with the right content the fastest, right? So it could be for it, and it may be different for every company because everybody's setup is different. Everyone's in the different stages. Some are more mature, some are still learning, some are still setting up their systems, right? So everybody might be on a different parts of their journey, um but I think the if you zoom out, there will be like 4 or 5 use cases that I think we could narrow down to, and then start asking questions around that. Start asking your team to think about like this. So I mean, a big one for me has always been, because I hadn't been able to solve this problem, was like, we tried doing this with multi-touch attribution, right? But even that to me seems like not necessarily the best solution, but still trying to figure out, like, how do customers buy. It's B2B sales cycle is still so complex. You don't know that. You have all the different touches, and you try some arbitrary numbers, to some value to these activities, but it's still like you're trying to, like, mathematically solve this problem, but I think it needs to have, like, insights before you need to draw some insights before we can go in and say, like, let's solve this through attribution. So I think there's, like, going to be 4 or 5 big use cases, and you layer that on with, like, I'm trying to get better leads faster at the most efficient cost per lead, and then bring that in, and then, like, have your teams ideate on that, brainstorm on that, like, how do we solve this. I know there's, like, a lot of tools that are conversations that are happening, but I think before we get to tools, we have to know, like, what problem we want to solve, and have, like, some idea of what the answer looks like before we go and rely on tools.
Fair point. Which what I would then so buy definitely not is already there, so it's not a top priority. So use case definitely, and I think um, do you feel people they need to be trained better? I mean, and again, what you're saying is technology again doesn't matter. So still, this comes down boils down back to use case. I think
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I think there's some people who are going to need to be, right? People who are setting up the models, people who are doing the, doing the all the back end work so the front end can be easier. So there's definitely those people who need to set up the system, who need to set up the algorithms and agents so majority of the team can benefit from that, right? But I don't think it makes sense for everybody to be an expert at like creating and building models and agents. Like I think you should know like how to do it. Like you should, it's a good thing to know how things work. But the promise of AI is in like using
absolutely
your plain English language and ask it questions.
100%, 100%, 100%. Yes.
So like prompt, right? Right prompts. Like everybody is talking about prompt engineering and those good questions, good prompts come from knowing what outcome are you trying to drive.
And does governance ever fall into the picture of decision making here? Do you see governance as an aspect in the thought process among marketers saying, okay, if I'm ready, am I ready for, is my governance system ready? Or is that a decision you don't care about? I mean, that's somebody else's decision, marketing decision.
I think once it matures, I'm sure there will be, some guide rails and, around it. But I think right now we're still there's still a lot of noise and we're still trying to break through that noise. And I think it's okay not to have that right now. Like I think if we put governance around it, it'll be too rigid.
100%. I think it'll spoil the mood for experimentation and the idea that you can
Exactly.
try it
Yeah.
out before you even understand what that is. I think that's a great point. Having said that, of course, there are, probably you'll have to govern the pilot or the experimentation itself with some test users and test audiences and so on and so forth. But that's easier happening than the data governance and other aspects itself.
Yeah, I mean that's like, a good experiment would be, right?
Great.
Your good experiment would have a control. Your good experiment would have your hypothesis, your test elements. So yeah, like I think that's a good testing methodology.
100%, 100%. Great. And and how where does a lake house, a data lake house fit in? Is that something you think about as marketers? You don't think about? It's something, it's not top of mind at all, and something that you probably expect, or you think that that's kind of lacking so much that it's time for marketers to think about it.
When you say data,
I'm basically talking about like the word that that's commonly used in marketing is a CDP or a 360 degree, market, 360 degree data view, whatever it might be called, customer 360, however you might want to, call it, but a central place for all data for marketers, just specifically for marketers, not a large, not a general purpose warehouse, lake house, or stuff, but
yeah,
just a place for marketers to have the data that marketers need, kind of thing.
yeah. I mean, absolutely, right? Like that's the core of AI is data, like good data, right? And in the past, marketers have really struggled with good data. We've always had tons of data, but we don't know what's good, what's bad, or what to look at, what not to. And it hasn't been easier to, remove bad data from good data. So yes, like, a central data that where human brain or human eye can't process that large amount of data to draw insights, but a computer can, right? An agent can. So I do think about that. Like the core of marketing is access to great data. So if we can get 360 view of the customer, and then we also know what is what's good insight, what's a bad insight, I think that would really help us as well, right? And gathering that 360 data has been a challenge. Like we have Salesforce, who serves, says that we have that, gives that promise. You have like Marketo's, HubSpot. They have done their best to stitch it together, but you still don't get the full picture because reading that data has been hard.
Mhm.
And I think that's like I do think about that. It's once we can read this data and we know how to read good data from bad data, I think we can like supercharge marketing.
And could AI so can AI be a business case for that? Do you see AI as a fundamental business case, as a marketing business case? Because in the past, it's not, this data is not a marketing problem to solve, it's somebody else's problem to solve. Now, for you to be able to do that, and if you're, do you see that as something that marketing needs to take ownership of that data as a marketing problem to have, as a marketing business case versus a IT business case or somebody else or an ops business case?
Yeah, I mean, I think the team who might help or who might have the expertise may sit somewhere else, but I think more than ever, like marketing teams, marketing leadership team now has a chance to actually be in charge of their own destiny in a bit from data perspective, right? In the past, like it's some like big black hole that where it goes, and then we use our dashboards to draw some insights, and dashboards are stale the moment they come out, right? So I think the more we can, I wouldn't say control. The more we have understanding of it, the more we know it, the more we are able to put into that data, more we can connect our first party data, our third party data. I think the better we will be at our programs, at our campaigns, better at understanding our customers and their journey, buyer's journey. And, as a result, we will generate better demand.
Great, fantastic, great. I think that is kind of great insights from you, Reed, and great conversation. I have a closing idea, and I wanted to just bounce it with you. And this is, since I have, we are making this conversational. I broached this with marketers in my last conversation as well, and they really like the idea. So I want to get your thoughts as well. I'm thinking of this more like a chain letter kind of a conversation. So if you remember, when I was growing up, we used to have this idea of a chain letter. You get a letter and you pass it to 1,000 people. Each of them, you ask them to send it to 1,000 more people, or some
Yeah,
random number
yeah.
of
You
audiences, and
tag,
then they
you
would
tag somebody else. Yeah.
yeah. So it's almost like viral marketing in a different way. It's almost like yeah. So it's viral marketing in a different way, but narrowing it down and making it more specific is I'm kind of bringing on the idea that while I have these one-on-one conversations, I would also love to have my marketing leaders who come onto this bring drive a conversation, and we can work together on another topic, and we can have three-way conversations with their one of their colleagues or counterparts or somebody they want to bring on and have a conversation, and so on and so forth. It's just to have more conversations, more and not just driven by the agenda is set by the you could set the agenda, you could have another conversation going on, so on and so forth. What do you think about it? And you can promote, I mean, we can think about other things beyond that, but
Yeah, no, I
as an
think
idea, what do you think?
yeah, I mean, it's great. Like I just had a conversation with, somebody I worked with in the past, and we were just just this morning when we were talking about, like, we were just comparing notes. Hey, what do you think? Like, I'm hearing this on AI. What do you think? Right. So everyone is like, we all have our own thoughts and opinions, and then we are trying to like validate them with others. So the more conversations we have, better clarity we're going to get on these like use cases that we were talking about, right? And the workflows, and the faster we could move. So a lot of the we're in this state right now where we're doing things and we're experimenting, but let's like collectively talk about it so we can learn from each other, and then also like spark some ideas that I may not be thinking about. And there's a lot of smart people who are doing things, right? So we, as a collectively, we rise up, and like, we're I would love to see marketing lead the charge in this AI revolution. Like, marketing is leading it. I know like software engineering, and you're like building code and all that, but I get, those teams are using AI a lot too, but like, that's there's no reason why marketing can't lead this revolution.
Absolutely, there's no reason. Let's just make it happen. So Reed, then on that note, would you be interested in inviting somebody to another follow-up sessions? And like the schedules are flexible, but you know,
Yeah, I'll be happy
we
to.
do it every 2 weeks, or if even early. I mean, even faster. That's I mean, we can do it. We can do it on an ad hoc basis too, but at least if you have any suggestions, let me know. I'll happy to work through with you. We can have that,
Yeah, I'm happy
share
to.
an
Like, there's
agenda.
a few people I'm thinking of that I think they would love to be part of the conversation. So yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do that next week, and I will stop the recording here.